Spring's only around the corner, folks. Today's a nice warm day. Should have put my cap on. But it's going to go cold soon, even though the days are getting longer. We're going to have some great time ahead playing in the garden, and I can't wait for that because it's been bloody bitter cold the last few weeks. Anyway, what I'm doing here is preparing a mix here to plant my tomato seeds. Yep, I'm going to start now, folks. Now, you can use a mini hothouse. You can just make one yourself if you like, or keep them inside. Ideally, when it comes to sowing vegetable seeds, especially the tomatoes, must use a single cell like this. You can go with the smaller ones, which we've got one here that I did a demo a long time ago. So they're the 72 cell, small little plugs that they are, so that's where the root ball grows, and the idea of that is you keep each plant separate from each other so their root system does not get tangled up and you're not struggling to pull them apart when it comes to putting them in the ground. Whereas I've got here the 32 cell tray. This is a much larger one and much more robust in respect to allowing the root ball of the plant to grow to its entirety properly without any restrictions or tangling with other plants. Couple of holes at the bottom, so good drainage. Now you can put these in a mini hothouse tray like this here. It sits comfortably in that sort of position and allows the water to come through and fall into these little channels. And if you're really worried about overwatering, well, don't. You don't want it to pull up at the bottom, but make sure you check it on a daily basis to drain it if you need to, in the case that you're overwatering. Now, you can also apply these on a heat mat. So if you want to get your seedlings up and early, you can use a hot water service. If you've got one of those lower ones where you can sit on top, it tends to be warm enough there, or against the wall on a pedestal or table that's facing north. That way you get plenty of northerly sun, keeps it nice and warm, because it's all about the heat in the soil. We need to get that up to about 18 degrees, if not to 20, 22 degrees. And you can do that with a thermostat or direct sunlight off a table like this here that we have, or a hot water service. Now, in the night times, just a few more things on the upkeep of growing seedlings from seed in cell trays. In the night time, keep it on a warm spot or in a warm spot, maybe on a heat mat inside, away from the wind outside and the cold. And in the daytime when the sun comes out like this now, take it outside, make sure it's hydrated and keep it there in the sun, because the sun is the best way to get these to germinate and get them to activate properly. And once they do activate, make sure they do get direct sunlight. So they don't need the sun at the beginning when you've sown your seed and it hasn't germinated. They can sit quite comfortably somewhere where it's warm. It can be in direct sun, but it needs to be warm if anything. And then once they germinate, then you can keep taking them up outside. Otherwise they'll be soft and they'll get very sort of lanky and stretchy because they're needing direct sunlight. And they're the tips on that. Now what I'm doing here is filling up the cell tray, the 72, or sorry, this is a 32 cell tray, with a blend of cocoa and planting. That's what I find to be really good for this. And you've got your fibrous strands and all things like that. That's okay, they'll break down over time. But we've got the cocoa and the planting blended, so we've got our food in there. Not a lot of it, enough just to activate it. And we've got the cocoa, which keeps it nice and loose and friable, meaning it drains well. It doesn't bog down and cause the seeds to rot out. And when seeds grow, we simply go underneath, pop it out, and this whole cell comes out, root ball and all, intact without interference from residing seedlings. So get your seeds going. Get your seeds going for springtime. It is August now. They need at least 4 to 6 weeks to germinate properly and grow large enough to get them out. Sometimes a little bit longer than that, depending on your microclimate. So get your seedlings or seeds organised, or otherwise go to your local garden centre and buy some seedlings already done for you. I kind of like germinating my own as much as I can, because they end up performing better because they acclimatise and adapt to my bloody gardening habits, which can be sometimes very non-existent, folks, as we all experience in times. So here we are, we've done that. Just levelling it off a little bit more. A couple of larger pieces. Look out for the larger pieces. Just pull them out of there. You don't want them interfering with the seed trying to push its way through. And before we plant our seeds, what we need to do is just do a little indentation like that. Not too deep. And sometimes you don't really even have to. So I've got a large piece there. Just top that up again. In fact, let me just try without doing that there, because this is really light and friable. I've got my big Malaka seeds, folks. We released these, over 200 packets have sold already, more, and I dare say we are going to run out pretty quick. So there's only a few left, and this is my own little personal batch here. I'm going to try and put one seed in each one. Look at these things, they're tiny. I need glasses. So that can just sit there like that. And rather than pushing it in, I'm just going to do this, sprinkle over the top, if I can, like that. Just got to ever so lightly cover it. If you do plant it by putting a little hole in the soil, make sure it doesn't go too deep, folks, because look how tiny the seed is. It really only needs to be as deep as the same thickness of that seed is in width. So even just doing that is enough. You don't have to put a hole. For the larger ones like your beans and all that, which you just generally sow directly in the ground, you don't have to worry about. I think that's 2 in there, but that's okay. Cover that over. So we've done row 1. The last one there. Just sprinkle a little bit of soil on these, like that. Just to cover it over, it's all you need to do. And make sure on a high windy day that you're in a well protected area, because they will fly around. Now this needs to be hydrated, and what I'm going to hydrate it with is our liquid gold here. You can't see it in there because our liquid gold doesn't have any colouring or thickeners in it. It's purely like weak tea, folks. Look at that. That's a liquid seaweed fertiliser. That's what it should look like. If yours doesn't look like that, you've got to ask why. So there's nothing added to this, straight out liquid seaweed. Now I've put a small amount in here, nothing else, in the drink bottles with a bottle top sprinkler, and just carefully hydrating it. Look, you can't hydrate it all in one hit straight away. Start carefully working your way through it. It's a nice soft spray. Now the cocoa pith that I use is an old batch, meaning it's been sitting out here in the weather. It's dried out a little bit. You can see it's absorbing it anyway. And once it hydrates, it'll remain well hydrated and porous at the same time. So drink bottle's a good way to do it, folks, or a soft spray hose or head with a wand on it. You want to be using one of those. You don't want to use it straight from a watering can, because the rose head on those can be a little bit heavy, and they can, just cause the soil, or in this case here, the cocoa pith, to dislodge and cause a seed to be blown out or washed out. This way, nice and soft. See how I've gone over it 2 or 3 times? Just allowing it to soak through. And we'll just check to make sure it's actually gone through. This is only 1 litre, or just over a litre. I think it's 1.2 litres. But remember, we don't need it to go all the way down, and we don't need it drenched all the way through. And there is a bit of weight there, so it's got 1 litre of water added to that. Hey, we've got some snails in here. Oh. Let's just get rid of these little fellas, because they're just waiting for a feed to come along. Close your eyes. Oh, yuck. I think I missed. You still looking at me? Okay. So, time to sow your tomatoes, your capsicums as well. So it's time to sow your tomato seeds, folks. Don't put them straight in the ground. Put them straight in the seedling tray like this, with a cell tray, the best way, so you're not tearing the roots apart. Plenty of sunlight once they germinate, but keep them warm throughout the whole growing period. And use the liquid gold to start them off. You'll find a huge difference in success and the quality of the germination as well. You'll find all this on our website, vasilisgarden.com, and put it in your diary. If you're around the Red Hill area, I'm going to be there on Friday. They're open on Saturday, so Click and Collect is going. And book yourself in for our fruit tree workshop pruning session, which is on this Saturday. There's only a few spots left there for you to be able to come along and learn a heap of stuff on maintaining your garden. And on Sunday, before I forget, it's the Werribee Heritage Orchard Fruit Tree Grafting Fruit Tree Festival. So it's the Winter Fruit Tree Pruning Grafting Festival. I'll be down there as well. Craig Crashtree will be there. Lots of presenters and experts on the day, and lots of signwood and heritage varieties that you've probably haven't heard of in your lifetime, but you'll be astounded to see the quality of fruit that you'll be able to get from them. So pop down at Werribee Heritage Fruit Tree on Sunday. Saturday is the workshop. Friday I'm in Red Hill. And the rest of the week, well, I'm just here. Me, Vasili, Maresi.